Welcome to the Narrative Mindset Podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, I would appreciate it if you went back and viewed previous episodes when you get time. There are mornings when the city feels like it has forgotten itself, wrapped in a fog and silence, as if Detroit has pressed pause on its own heartbeat. In those hours, I find myself thinking about invisibility, not the kind that comes from hiding, but the kind that comes from being overlooked. You move through the streets, past shuttered storefronts and sleeping houses, and you realize how much of life happens without witness. The grind consumes us. The noise defines us. And yet, beneath it all, there are fragile, rare parts of ourselves that never get acknowledged. Invisibility can feel like protection, a shield against judgment. But it can also feel like erasure, a quiet reminder that most of what we carry will never be seen. And in that tension, I wonder if being unseen is a curse or a mercy. If disappearing into the fog is a way of surviving or a way of surrendering. Then something interrupts that erasure. Something that breaks the rhythm of indifference. A rare sight. A fragile presence that should not exist, but does. Reminding me that improbability is still possible, even in places built on survival. A white deer standing in the fog is not just an animal. It's a symbol of everything that resists logic, everything that insists on being seen. It's a reminder that the world still holds space for the improbable, for the fragile, for the rare. And in that reminder, I feel myself reflect back, not as a worker or a survivor, but as a soul for a moment. The city's indifference breaks, and I am witnessed by something beyond it. That moment doesn't erase the grind, but it reframes it, showing me that even in a place that forgets, there are flashes of memory, flashes of recognition, flashes of grace. The pre-dawn light over Metro Detroit bleeds a bruised purple into the sky, a color that always felt like the city slowly opening its eyes after a long, hard night. Fog, thick and woolen, draped itself low over the freeway, blurring the brutal edges of concrete and steel into something softer, more ethereal. My wipers switched a steady rhythm, a solitary heartbeat against the muffled silence that precedes the morning rush. The city hummed a low, persistent thrum beneath the tires, like a broken speaker that still, somehow, against all odds, plays your favorite melancholic song. Then, it was there, on the shoulder of westbound I-96, just past the exit for Southfield Freeway, stood a deer, pure Arctic white. Against the grimy gray concrete barrier and the skeletal tangle of winter bear, sumac, it was impossibly still, a porcelain figurine frozen in the harsh, unforgiving landscape. His head was slightly turned, his gaze fixed, somewhere beyond the roar of passing semi-trucks, beyond the frantic pulse of the city, into a dimension only it could perceive. My foot lifted instinctively from the accelerator. The car, a practiced extension of my own slowing heartbeat, glided forward. In the fog, the deer appeared ghost-like, a flicker of something ancient and wild against the backdrop of raw asphalt and the distant skeletal towers of downtown. It wasn't just out of place. It was an anomaly, a glitch in the matrix of exhaust fumes and indifference. It never spoke, never moved, just was. I drove past slowly, my window open an inch, letting the cold, damp air, the faintest scent of damp earth, and something clean, something untamed. My eyes tracked it in the rearview mirror until the fog swallowed it whole, leaving only the memory, sharp and crystalline, and the raw space behind my ribs. That moment, fleeting as it was, snagged something deep inside me, unraveling a thread I spent decades coiling tight. It spiraled into a mediation on emotional survival, on visibility, and on what it truly means to be rare in a world that, more often than not, hunts difference. Detroit taught me early on that softness was a luxury, vulnerability a weakness. The city, in its brutal beauty, molds you. It carves resilience into your bones, inscribes a certain kind of grit into your soul. But for a boy who felt the world's vibrations a little too keenly, who saw the shadows within the light, it was a constant battle. My younger self, a kid with wide, searching eyes and a heart that bruised easily, learned to internalize. Silence became survival in a house where emotions were best left unspoken, tucked away like dangerous heirlooms. My father, a man forged in the unforgiving foundries of industry, understood labor, understood logic, but the language of feeling was alien to him. He loved, I knew, but his love was expressive in the quiet thrum of a well-maintained engine and the steady rhythm of a paycheck, never in the soft cadence of understanding. I remember once, maybe 7 or 8, my dog, Buster, a scruffy terrier mix, got hit by a car. I saw it happen. The screech of tires, the sickening thud, the way he laid there, whimpering. I ran to him, tears streaming, snot coating my face, guttural sobs tearing from my chest. My father found me there, cradling Buster's cooling body. He didn't say, "It'll be okay," or "I'm sorry." He didn't hold me. Instead, he knelt, gently pried Buster from my arms, and said, his voice flat, "He's gone. Go inside. Don't make a scene." The message was clear. Pain was private. Grief was burden. And public display of either was an indulgence we couldn't afford. I went inside, but the tears didn't stop. They just went deeper, flowing into chambers of my heart I didn't even know existed, sealing themselves off behind thick soundproof walls. That day, I learned to bleed internally. The white deer, standing stark against the gray, was a mirror. It was a part of me that always fell out of place. The sensitive observer in a city that valued action. The quiet ponderer in a culture that glorified loudness. It was me, standing with my soul exposed, asking, is it safe to be seen yet? For decades, the answer from the world, from the hard-scribbled streets of Detroit, felt like a resounding no. It wasn't explicit, not always. It was in the dismissal of a thoughtful question, the thick, rough laughter at a moment of earnest vulnerability. It was in the unspoken expectation to be tough, to be unyielding, to push forward, never look back, to mourn what was falter, to feel too much was to break. I saw others, men around me, build their walls higher, their voices louder, their facades impenetrable. They survived, yes, but at what cost to the self tucked away behind the masonry? I found my refuge, eventually, in words, storytelling. First in journals, hidden under my bed, then in hesitant whispers to trusted friends, then finally out loud, unapologetically. It was a slow, arduous process, like excavating ancient ruins from beneath layers of ash and sediment. Each memory unearthed, each emotion named, felt like a tiny act of rebellion against the silence I had been trained to uphold. My narratives became the scaffolds for building an emotional truth, a way to stitch together the desperate pieces of who I was taught to be, and who I was becoming. The deer became a silent symbol of this journey. Its witness, its conspicuousness, spoke to the terror and liberation of visibility. To be rare, to be different, often means to be easily spotted, easily targeted. A white deer in the woods is a hunter's dream. A sensitive man in a hardened city, he's seen as an easy mark, a soft target for the world's sharpened edges. But there's a power in that visibility. 2, the deer wasn't hiding. It simply was, it occupied its space, utterly present, utterly itself, without apology or explanation. Its stillness felt like a profound act of defiance. It wasn't trying to fit in. It wasn't trying to camouflage itself. It was an alabaster flame against the encroaching dawn, burning with its own quiet integrity. Years of this slow excavation, of chipping away at the reinforced concrete around my heart, have taught me that building a voice isn't just about making sound. It's about articulating the landscapes of your inner world, allowing its contours to be seen, even if they don't conform to the expected topography. My childhood in Detroit, full of unspoken narratives and unexpressed pain, became the wellspring from which I drew my stories. Every scar, every moment of misunderstanding, every quiet triumph of feeling became a note in the symphony I was composing. The city, though brutal in its lessons, also offered its own strange form of healing. Detroit, after all, is a testament to resilience, to rebuilding from the ashes. It's a place that carries its own history of pain and pride, often side by side. It doesn't always reward vulnerability, but it understands authenticity. It respects those who stand their ground, who carve out their space, even if that space is unconventional. I learned to draw strength, not from hardening myself further, but from finding a way to carry my softness, my empathy, my very soul, not as a burden, but as a unique kind of armor. The white deer on the freeway shoulder, a creature of almost mythical purity in a landscape of industrial grime, became a silent guru. It showed me that perhaps the greatest strength isn't in being indistinguishable from the herd, but in allowing your rare, beautiful difference to shine. It's in standing still. It's in quiet grace, even if the world around you is a blur of speed and noise. My younger self, the boy who internalized everything, who asked, "Is it safe to be seen yet?" still lives inside me. But now, when that question echoes, I have an answer, honed by years, by the stories I've told, by the truth I've claimed. It's not always a definitive yes, because the world remains a place of dangers and judgments. But it's an affirmation of self. It's the quiet understanding that the safety isn't entirely outside. It's built within. In the strength of my own voice and the unapologetic caring of my own soul. The fog eventually lifted that morning, revealing the familiar contours of the city, the faded murals on brick walls, the skeletal remains of old factories, the defiant green shoots pushing through cracks in the pavement. The roar of traffic intensified, the daily grind resuming its relentless pulse. The white deer was gone, perhaps a phantom, perhaps a traveler passing through, perhaps a vision sent to remind me. But the image remained, etched into the circuitry of my being, a silent, potent symbol of rarity, fragility, and grace. And as I continued my drive, I carried its stillness with me, a quiet resolve blooming in the space that once held only fear. Detroit hummed on, its broken speaker still playing that melancholic, beautiful song. And this time, I hummed along, a little louder, a little clearer, my own rare melody blending into the city's complex, enduring chorus. I was still here, still sensitive, still seen, and still miraculously whole. The deer is gone now, swallowed by fog and memory, but its stillness remains etched into me. It taught me that rarity is not weakness, that softness can be carried as armor, and that visibility through dangers is also liberating. Detroit hums on, relentless and raw, but I hum with it now, my own melody woven into the city's chorus. I remain no longer hidden, no longer afraid, a rare soul standing in the open. The city may demand grit, but I carry my difference as strength. And in the quiet between its broken notes, I hear my song rising, fragile, defiant, and whole. The deer did not stay. It vanished into the fog, the way rare things always do, leaving me with the quiet truth that survival itself is a miracle. Rare things do not linger, but their presence is enough to remind us we are still here. That fleeting glimpse becomes a kind of anchor, proof that even in a world that forgets, there are moments that remember. And those moments, however brief, carry a weight that ordinary days cannot. They remind us that survival is not just about endurance, but about recognition. That to be seen, even once, is to be validated in ways that silence cannot erase. The deer's disappearance was inevitable, but its memory remains, stitched into the fabric of my own survival. A reminder that invisibility is never absolute. And so I carry that image forward, a white deer stitched from silence, proof that even in a city that measures worth in noise and hustle, there's still room for the improbable. It tells me that being rare is not about being noticed. It's about enduring in a world that does not expect you to. Sometimes, survival itself is the most sacred kind of grave. And sometimes, grace is enough. The deer becomes a metaphor for every fragile part of me that refuses to disappear. Every improbable dream that insists on existing despite the odds. And in carrying that image, I carry a reminder that invisibility is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of resilience. The fog will return. The grind will continue. But somewhere in the silence, there will always be a white deer, reminding me that I'm still here. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Narrative Mindset Podcast.